Right, well, welcome to our Black History Lunchtime conversation, a formal welcome to you. It's good to have an opportunity before we start this recording to have had a chat and to hear from folks and catch up. I wanted to start off, though, talking about Black History Lunchtime conversations updates. Now, we chose Sankofa as the logo, and perhaps you'll understand at some stage why I'm pointing this out to you, because we're going to be working with a lady called Dr. Bunmi from Nigeria, because she's done some brilliant work on Black history stories, and she chose this same logo. So we must go back to our roots in order to move forward. So we need to reach back, we need to find out about that history, gather the best of what our past has to teach us, so we can achieve our full potential as we move forward. It's a kind of reflection, this, really, because we're getting through season 2 now, and what's going to be possible for us in season 3. And I think we're actually finding some really interesting things that have been lost and forgotten and forgone, so we can reclaim those stories, revive, preserve, perpetuate. So that's what that's the way it started. Now, I think I've done 6 of these updates so far, and they're getting longer and longer. So Simon, David, and I are going to have a meeting next week. We're going to be talking about how is it best for us to share the wealth of information that is available now and is coming through now. So I would just wanted to give you some examples of what I could have put into an update this week if I hadn't been busy doing other things, like writing funding bids and things. Right. So I couldn't believe it. Every morning I check my emails, and I check my Facebook, and I check my WhatsApp and whatever. And by the time it's lunchtime, I've discovered all these things. But this week was quite a week for things, and I'm worried that I may have forgotten things. And we've already been reminded about the Aboriginal truth telling, and I'm thinking, well, how could I have forgotten that one? Anyway, Lindsay, thank you very much indeed. On several occasions, I've said that we want to have a link with someone in Ireland so that we can get the 4 countries' stories. And there's a great article in The Guardian where they talk about Trinity College, which is now coming in line with other universities as it confronts its collusion with the empire. So that's a good article. Thank you, Lindsay. Martin sent a link about the 2001 Igbo conference which is in partnership with SOAS. So that's it's a Nigerian conference, Nigerian focus. So you have to email off to get that information. I also put here that something popped up on my Facebook. It's tough, but the message is very straightforward. It contains lots of strong words, so it's got a bit of a health warning there. But I think there are strong words to be said about some of the issues that we're talking about. And then here I've added a fabulous free online resource that I'd forgotten about. And that's the Historic England British Country House book, which is available online. It's an enormously long book. It would be very expensive if you bought it, but you can get it online. So these are some of the things that would have been in this week's update, but I will put them in next week, so you won't be missing out altogether. And then this week I saw that a review is being led by Jeff Palmer. So Jeff Palmer, who's joined us on a couple of occasions, into Scotland's museums. Now, I'm really interested in why we have museums that show stolen goods and why we sell stolen goods as part of what we do. And so it's good to see that in Scotland, the museum and galleries are taking this seriously. I've also put in the last update that came out. But I'll put a reminder on your invitation to this session that the Loot conference is on the 1st of April. So it's not a week that we're doing this, and it would be great if people had been able to join in or to see that program, which is about the Benin bronzes, and that again is challenging this with the museums. And also, we haven't talked much, but it touches on what we're going to be talking about. The National Trust report on slavery links didn't break the charity law, as if it would do. But obviously, the government, somebody said earlier, are really, really twitchy about things and anything to take our mind off other things. So it's really good to have seen that article. And Apu, I've also included here, and I will include again, Apu Baga, the great presentation you prepared for the Welsh Assembly on October the 1st last year. It was really very valuable indeed, and really well worth watching. So I just put some things there, and then what I wanted to do now, so is it possible if I stop sharing for a minute and then we'll get some feedback about the update? Okay, right. So have any of you got any thoughts about it? Is it something that you do look at, or is it something that you think is just too much, or it's not what's useful to you, or there's any better way we can do it?
I look at most of it, Liz. I don't read all of it in detail, but I really do appreciate getting it. So
Right.
Don't stop.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments? Lisa says she loves the sources and she only wishes she has more time to pore over things. I can't believe what you can find. I mean, I just lose my days here looking at different things. I found the will of a member of the Pennant family from 1736 by chance today. Okay. So any other points on that?
I can't say that I read it all through every week, but it is a useful resource to go back to. So sorry, there's a drill going on in the background now. But I would say if you can keep it up, and I'll turn the sound. Okay.
Right. Well, we'll talk about it because Simon's a great writer and he does various news publications, don't you, Simon? So we'll confer next week.
I do, yep.
That's all right then.
Yep.
So it's just and so if any of you hear anything, do let me know, because I don't see your UK TV until it's 2 years later, which is often very interesting to reflect. It's nice to hear if there's something up to date or something that's come up on your news, although I have to say you get news from around the world now, don't we? So it's great. Right, okay then. So I'll now explain why we're operating this in a slightly different way to normal. Usually we let our speaker speak first, but as we're Caroline and myself, and we were hoping Natalie might make it, but Natalie often has challenges to get to these sessions, is that we are we're hoping that to be joined by Dr. Lola Ramakan. She's the Jamaican High Commissioner's wife, and she's going to be involved in this project in the future. So she said she couldn't make it just for 12 o'clock, but maybe she may join us at some stage. I don't think she's joined us yet. So I've done a PowerPoint, which I just love it. You find out all these interesting things, but a lot of my resources and my hard drives are in the UK, so I can't just get all the things that I wanted. So I phoned up a gentleman called Clifford Headley a week or so ago and asked Clifford if he would be prepared to go around Pennants, being very safe, and just taking photographs to him in the car, not doing anything that might put him at risk, so that we could share some photographs and some information about this community called Pennants. Now, just to explain this, this slide here, the North Wales Jamaica Society is now refocused, and Natalie Fagan-Brown is the chair. Caroline and I are founder members, and we've got other keen members. And we meet on the first Saturday of each month, and we're going to be meeting at lunchtime now, so that we hope Jamaican colleagues will be able to join us. The entire focus of the North Wales Jamaica Society is now on supporting the Penance Project, we call it. So the castle that you can see there is Penrhyn Castle, and that's a big part of the story. I was brought up in North Wales, and my father would never let us go to Penrhyn Castle because it was just somewhere that had the history so awful that you wouldn't want to be there. So we're going to be talking more about that at the end of the session, when Caroline's going to be joining in as well and putting me right on the historical details. Now, this very, very huge wall that John Austin All Age School in Pennants now has is really impressive. So I've used that as that. And the Penance Project, which you've got a website for, a lot of my websites start spanglefish.com / and then whatever it is, like this one. So this is Penance Project. So we're about bringing communities together in friendship and peace. And I have to say, I've had a lovely, lovely week, because as Clifford went round to take all these photographs, he got talking to people, and people wanted to talk to me. So I've been talking to a number of people in Pennants, trying to find out more about the story of Robert Rumble. Okay, so this was the flyer that I sent out for this week, really just to remind us, taking our first steps to explore various ways that organisations, families and communities are piloting reparation initiatives. So David, it was really interesting that you've already spoken about the work that you're looking at, and this amazing story of Robert Rumble and the successful tenant strike in Pennants is an amazing story, and we really, really want to find out a lot more about it, and we need some help too. So I'll be referring to that later on, because I don't feel that the team who are working on it at the moment, including myself and Caroline, we just haven't got the skills to be able to do the historical research necessary to find out just what happened when the claim went through the British Parliament. But it went through and it was successful, and we don't know how to find the detail of it. But we are working with the Henry George Foundation about that. Okay, so we might also, whoopsie-daisy, we might also have been having a discussion with Dr. Hilary Robertson-Hickling. I make that an open thing any week that she can join us. We're very delighted. And we're also delighted because Jean-Samuel McKellar is with us. So we hope there's going to be time for you to be able to tell us about where you're at with the international talent outreach later on, Jean McKellar. Right. Oops. Okay, so with thanks to photographer Clifford Headley, we have got a really lovely range of pictures. So I think these were mainly taken some time back, because I can't see any evidence of any masks. And I don't think there have been any graduation ceremonies. The children have been off school for such a long time now, it's really difficult, but we're working with the school there. The gentleman on the right, who's leaning on Clifford's car door, is one of his mates. So where is Pennants in Clarendon, Jamaica? Well, this is a picture of the Caribbean Sea, and Jamaica's in the middle for those of you who don't know. And the map of Jamaica is always amazing to look at. The 3 counties are Cornwall, Middlesex and Surrey. The big areas, which are like British counties, are called parishes. And the parish that we're talking about is the parish of Clarendon, which is this map here. And there's lots of ways to find out about the area and to see where the influences are by looking at maps. So there's some really good old maps that are available online that you can look at and squirm with horror at all the Welsh names that are on there and all the Scottish names, as well as all the English names, of course. I discovered that Hagley Park Road, I come from Worcestershire, Hagley's in Worcestershire, Hagley Park Road, I couldn't think what the connection was, and then I discovered it's the people in the next village with a great house had been one of the lead governors in Jamaica. Anyway, you can look on Google and you can see Pennants, and you can see in the dark picture with the outline, you can see how very hilly it is, and over and then you can see though that there are a lot of houses. I think this next picture is actually of the Denby showground. So pre-COVID days again, and fun. It was nice that Clifford chose to share some of his, he is a photographer, some of the photographs he's taken over time. So it's good to see the times when folks could get together, weddings could be celebrated normally, kids could be out and about and smiling. And that's his wife, Leonora, at the bottom, wearing the gorgeous outfit. We met Leonora the very first time we went to Pennants, and she's a very important part of our story and has kept in touch with us ever since, and has been to Wales. So this story starts about 10 years ago when a team from North Wales visited Denby and Pennants in Jamaica, because we were supporting PhD studies of one of the team members. And we visited Pennants high in the hills of Clarendon and found the Pennants Great House. We actually met a lady there called Jennifer Williams, but I can't find any photographs of her at the moment. Let's share those again sometime. She's been a great contact. So this project's been going on for a long time. And then myself and a colleague from UK visited again, and Miss Rob showed us around the school. We organised a lot of visits between schools, exchange visits, and colleges. Now, this idealised painting is of the Denby plantation, and it's hanging in a corridor in Penryn Castle, along with one of the Pennants plantation, but I couldn't find a picture of that on Pinterest. So look at it. But when we went to there, see those tall coconut palms on the right hand side? I think three or four of those are still there. I think they're called queen palms. Ben might know. And that they've lasted, but the other buildings are now ruins. And this plantation site, when it was sold on, was bought up to be the agricultural show site for Jamaica. So the Denby show happens on where the Denby plantation was. But interesting, Clifford wants to show off the good places in Pennants. So there are some really quite nice houses, also some very modest houses. So he's given us a selection there. Also a selection of what's growing at the moment. I don't know if we've got a colleague who to tell us what's what, but we need some pictures of yam mounds. We discovered that we haven't got any of those. On the left is the River Mino when it's been rainy. I pointed that out because later you'll see pictures of it, and it's really very low at the moment. The roads are very challenging, although there is now a good road being put in place going up from May Pen to the north coast, so it comes past Pennants. So this was interesting, and I got to talk to Mr. Morgan, who had given the land for this water shop to be placed. So despite the fact it rains most days and there are two quite big rivers, there's no piped water in Pennants. So the water shop's just been opened. And Mr. Morgan gave me the contact for for the MP in the area, so we're going to make a link with him. So most of our focus has been on John Austin All Age School. Got a picture of the secretary on top left, because I said to Clifford, I need some pictures of people with masks on to show that you're taking things seriously. And indeed they are, and the hygiene sprays. So we're trying to help the school. It really needs a complete refurbishment. So we've been discussing this with Rotary International, but we've had all kinds of problems. But we've also been discussing the issues with the school, with the Pennant family, the Douglas Pennant family back in Wales. And they have a foundation whereby they can help schools in Jamaica. And they've agreed that they will fund the building of an infant department. So that's real progress. The wonderful wall that I referred to earlier around the school grounds was actually funded by the Douglas Pennant Family Foundation. When the new principal, Mr. Williams, started, there was a really nasty incident on the school grounds, and it was necessary to secure the compound. So that was really important. So here are some other pictures showing the challenges with the buildings at John Austin All Age School. Difficult to pick out what all the issues are, but we have lengthy meetings about them and hear about all the problems. So we're definitely trying to help the school. Right, I want to cheer you up now, make you jealous. It's lunchtime. So one of our volunteers in Pennants, Rashida, has been working really, really hard, and she's produced a recipe book. So we're going to try and put it online, so you'll be able to cook your own delicious versions of things here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to get hold of any breadfruit, though. I think that's the top right one, isn't it? Bread, and top left. I like breadfruit a lot, so I included those. So look out for Rashida's recipe book, Nammings and Jammings. And also, I'm going to ask, I think Ben and Chris, you might be able to answer the questions here. We haven't got Natalie with us to tell us the answers. All right then. So lots of good things here. These are, I think, called busters. Am I right, Ben? And we've got some tough biscuits as well. We've got, I think these are called blue draws, banana leaf wrapped round, and these are delicious. I think they're called buttons. Anyway, we need some experts to answer these questions. But obviously there's good stuff there. Right, so local folks, isn't it lovely to see these kids with the things that they've made here to play with? They're most imaginative. And I laugh because today I went to my granddaughter's school and they were having billy cart races where the local people have made carts that look just like the carts they use in Jamaica, and the kids were up and down the road. And this guy with his imaginative vehicle and his sunshade. Folks in the, I think this must be the local post office, I think, but I think it's in Chapelton. They're all wearing masks, and some other characters. And I just loved the bridal shot of, you know, if I'd have been wearing my wedding dress and somebody asked me to climb a tree, I think I might have declined. Right. Now, just so that you know what else is going on in Pennants, this is really to give you an idea of what this place is about, because essentially we've worked to build a partnership, a bridge of friendship. We've worked with Yasser Safari, who's a Jamaican poet who spent a lot of time in Wales with us, to build this bridge of friendship because we want to know about the community there, and we want them to know about our community, but that's a more challenging side to it. Okay, so on the left, that's the old bridge. And thank goodness the picture in the middle shows us the new bridge. And this is great, because really and truly driving over that old bridge was like a nightmare, but it's good to have a new bridge now. But can you see how low the River Mino is? So you're not going to get many fish out of there at the moment. I don't know if you can see, but the second from the left is the "We're now leaving Penance" sign. That's got more dilapidated over the years I've been going there. But look at that fast road with proper road signs up to Morgan's Pass or Chapelton, or back down to May Pen. The names all tell stories. Morgan's Pass is because Henry Morgan, privateer stroke pirate, used to go up that way and had a stopping off place there before he got up to his property in the north of the island. And I was hearing about this stopping off place the other day from one of the locals who has the surname Morgan, and apparently is related to Captain Morgan. Chapelton, we know people who've worked there in the churches. And May Pen, the term pen means that it was an animal holding, but that's the capital of the area. Right, so more about the new and the old bridges. On the same site as the John Austin All Age School is the John Austin Methodist Church, so we're trying to make links there. There's also a Pennants Seventh-day Adventist Church, I'm not quite sure where else, but Clifford also took a photograph of his lunch as well, so that was nice. It was delicious. Right, we've done churches, now we're doing the cemetery. Now, I haven't been able to talk to Clifford to find out what this obelisk is, but when the BBC were doing 2007 Black Abolition of the Slave Trade Act films, they went to Pennants and they filmed in the cemetery, and they found the graves of the Pennant family. So whether this obelisk has got anything to do with that, I don't know. But the modern graves, or graves of past years, are really quite show how much respect they give. Then just wanted to mention this because this is a fascinating part of the possibilities in Pennants. Clifford photographed the Quarries Control Act, Ministry of Mining, and there's a big notice saying keep out. But Jamaica, they mine a lot of bauxite, which is a very valuable commodity for aluminium. But also there have been gold mines in Pennants. But there's been all kinds of issues around whether it's possible to reopen these gold mines. But the difficulty is that it's always outsiders who want to go in and get the gold and take it away, not the locals. Right. So we'll leave Pennants for now with a few more views of the wonderful wall and the old "You are now leaving Pennants" stone. And we go to North Wales so that you get the other side of the story. So I think you all that are here today know where North Wales is. Maybe Lisa don't, but I think you do even. Okay, so if I can show with my little arrow, Penrhyn Castle is about here. And it's on here, marked Penrhyn Castle. This is Llandagai, this is Talibont, and Caroline's house is just up the corner here, okay? Don't know if you can see it. Talithlan, that must be next door to you, Caroline. Anyway, Caroline lives really near to this castle, and you can see from where she is. So chirp in anytime you want, Caroline. Whoopsie daisy, where are we? So, with the wealth created from the sugar plantations in Penrhyn, and I think the 4 or 5 plantations the family had in Jamaica, which they held from the very beginning when the British first got to Jamaica in 1656, right through until 1940. But for half that time, at least half that time, they were absentee landlords. So if you haven't been to Penryn Castle, it's huge. It's opulent. Those of you who've been to lots of National Trust properties know what it's like. The picture on the right's quite fun though, because people in Bethesda still have a real issue about the Pennant family and their mistreatment of the quarrymen. And so this black lump in the middle of the hall at Penryn Castle isn't a lump, it's an artwork, inflatable artwork representing a slate quarry. That was a very interesting day when they put that in. This is just to show you how enormous the castle is. It's supposed to have, Caroline, is it 365 rooms? I
don't think it's quite that many. It's about 250, I think.
Oh,
I always thought it was about 300, but it's about 250. It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some more pictures inside, and I want to ask you about this, Caroline. So I think this picture on the right at the top, I think this is called the slate bedroom, isn't it?
Yes. That's the bed that Queen Victoria refused to sleep in because she said it would be like waking up in a mausoleum, because it's all made out of slate with like the gravestones. It was probably a gravestone carver that made the bed to show off his skills, but she wouldn't sleep in it.
So the Pennant family, you know, got to the top of the tree in social terms in the UK, and that just shows Queen Victoria was a guest there. And wallpaper, I think the wallpaper in that illustration, which is in a bathroom, that's Chinese wallpaper, and you can see the carving, the quality of the work is just fantastic, and you can only, you know, feel positive that there were craftsmen who were able to do this level of work.
Can I just say something, Liz? That's George Hay Dawkins' Pennant at the bottom right. That's not Richard Pennant.
No, it's interesting because I've put this one, and I wanted to ask you especially because on Pinterest, you know, the place where I get all my information from, my pictures anyway, it said that this was anti-abolitionist Richard Pennant MP.
No, it's not. That's George Hay Dawkins' Pennant.
Was anti-abolitionist, but that's Henry Dawkins' Pennant.
No,
so he's
George Hay Dawkins.
George Hay Dawkins, right.
The one who built the castle as it is now.
Right, next one. Okay, so Caroline can confirm whether
that's
I've got
Richard
the right.
Pennant on the left.
Yeah.
And then George Hay Dawkins' Pennant. And then the one of George Sholto, Douglas Pennant, is labelled Edward Dawkins. I saw this one online. It's completely wrong. The one in the riding gear. That's George. I've got the family tree here. There's Edward Sholto Douglas Pennant. Third
Right,
Baron
let's just step back a minute then, Caroline. So Gifford Pennant was part of the invading British forces, and he stayed in Jamaica. And he built up what I've called a portfolio of plantations. I don't think they'd invented the word portfolio then. Kings Valley, which is in Westmoreland, Bullard's Pen, Coates Pen, Denby, Main Savannah, Pennants, and Thomas River. So these plantations together made the Pennant family one of the biggest landowning families in Jamaica. So for 3 generations, I think I'm right, Caroline, they managed the plantations and the development of the plantations themselves. So they would have dealt with the purchase of enslaved Africans and everything else. So then Richard Pennant was either born on the ship on the way over, or was born when he got back, when they arrived in Wales. So he then became the first absentee. Well, his father then became an absentee landlord, and Richard Pennant did. He became an MP in Liverpool. Is that right, Caroline?
Yes.
And he was the one who was an anti-abolitionist, because it would have affected his income to a great extent. Okay, Caroline, tell us which one came next.
So after him, he died without any children. So it was then inherited by George Hay Dawkins Pennant. That's the one, the second one along, and the one on the far right. And then he had a couple of daughters, and then it was passed on to Edward Gordon Douglas Pennant, because there weren't any sons to inherit it. It was passed on to Edward Gordon Douglas Pennant, and then down to George Sholto Douglas Pennant. He's the one in the riding gear that's been cut and pasted onto a picture of Penryn Castle. The one that's labelled Edward Dawkins Douglas Pennant, that's George Sholto Douglas Pennant,
Right,
born in 1836. And then when he died in 1907, his older son, Edward Sholto Douglas Pennant, inherited it. He was the third Lord Penryn. And then when he died, well, his two older sons were killed during the First World War, Alan and George, sorry. Yeah, three of them. Alan, George and Charles were all killed. So his only surviving son, Hugh Napier Douglas Pennant, inherited it as the fourth Baron Penryn. And he didn't have any children. So then it went to his niece, who is Richard Pennant's mother. And she inherited in 1949 and gave it to the National Trust in 1951.
Okay, so the point of explaining all of this is to show you that it's a line through that we can follow, even though we get some of the pictures labelled wrongly. Okay, so just to explain as well that the Pennant family in North Wales were also able to work this acquire slate quarries, but the quarrymen who worked in the slate quarries owned by Lord Penryn went on strike in 1904, and it was the longest strike at that time in British history. So the picture on the left-hand side at the top is the picture of when Queen Victoria apparently visited the quarries. I'm sure she was thrilled to bits. That's a huge painting that's in Penryn Castle. Underneath that, people from the Pennant strike. I'm afraid that's got cut off at the top. In the middle, the men round that table, they're all leaders of the strike. And that quote from a Bethesda resident above to say, "My grandfather died in the quarry. My father worked there and his three brothers. And when I visited the castle, I was so angry at the opulence." So a lot of rawness in the communities still in Bethesda. You can see the scale of the quarries now on the right hand side. They're still quarrying slate. Slate was a big industry. And you know that squashed black thing you saw in Penryn Castle? Well, this is the day, and I was there, when they inflated this structure of a slate quarry and carried it up to the castle. Anyway, that's the end for now. There's lots more we could talk about, but just to say that we've had great support from the Jamaican High Commissioner, and he toured around Wales.
I can't hear anything.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now. And
gallery.
Okay, so it's good to see you, Lola.
It's good to see you. Just coming in from the doctor, but I said I just have to come in. Thanks that you started. Just never mind me, just continue. Yes, yes.
All right. Now, Lola, what we're going to do is I shall arrange a special Zoom session with you and we'll talk with you. So Dr. Lola Ramakan joined came with her husband, His Excellency, the Jamaican High Commissioner, George Ramakan. And we toured Wales. We first of all went to in Cardiff, and then we came up to North Wales and we visited Bangor University Archives. We had a civic reception in the Penryn Hall. We visited, did I say Penryn Castle? And we visited the Denbigh Showground the next day. And I'll never forget how gorgeous you looked over that day, all dressed in Jamaican finery. That was really brilliant.
Yes.
So, okay. So lovely to see you. So
Lovely
we'll
to
just
see you
go
too.
on now. We'll check the comments down the side. And see where we're at with all of those. I want to know about John's views on the royalty. We'll do that at the end. Right. Regional byline stories. Simon's doing a bit of PR there. Okay.
Yeah, just giving people also somewhere to publish if they've got stories to tell.
Right, good. And we've got a request from Sibani about the beautiful painting. I'm not quite sure which one that was, Sibani. You can ask me in an email if you want to, or we can be
I
in
think
touch.
it was after you showed the one of the plantation.
All right. And Evelyn says that the floor of the bedroom had to be reinforced to take the weight of the slate bed. So hopefully you've got a feel that you've got an idea what this project's all about. And we've not talked about the technical difficulties or the way that we actually managing the project, managing the friendships, but essentially we want to share with you what Penance is actually like. This is what a small community in Jamaica is like today, 50 odd years after independence. And if we can help in any way, we want to. And the community in North Wales are coming round now with the North Wales Jamaica Society. We're looking to be able to help in whatever way we can. So it's good to have had this opportunity. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and Caroline's there as well, technical expert with all the hierarchy, I was going to say.
I've got the guidebook so I can check with the family tree on it.
Right. I find it quite difficult when I'm talking with people I'm getting to know in Pennants or people I know to talk about Penryn Castle.
Yeah.
Many Jamaicans who have visited it have found it quite overwhelming, that it is such a, it's so over the top. Right, any comments then? Any thoughts? Any ideas?
I was pleased that you introduced the quarries, Liz, because it's a useful reminder to us all that there was a mindset about these people that was not selective, that it was commercial, and they were quite happy to exploit anybody and everybody for their own material gain. And obviously the power and the influence was different over Jamaica and the quarry people, but the sense of ownership of what people were doing and ownership of people is not that different, is it? Pretty shocking.
There are a lot of similarities, and it's interesting that there was a strike of the people in Bethesda, the quarrymen in Bethesda, in 1904, and there was a strike of the tenants in Pennants in 1938. So, you know, the people not prepared to put up with that treatment.
The programme that David Olusoga has been leading on A House Through Time, I think I mentioned this weeks ago, the one about Bristol, which was really a very interesting way to tell history. But it was also marked that the poor white people in Bristol didn't have a great deal, you know, they were not well looked at. They lived in shocking conditions, their working conditions, the respect that they had was absolutely shocking. And it's a useful reminder to us that that was the mindset of the ruling population or the ruling people at that time.
Yeah.
Philippa? Yes, Liz, colleagues, just want to say that I lived in Pennants during the 1960s. Yes, and I integrated with the community. I used to visit the school, and there was a family in what you would call the square, the Ives. I don't know if anybody met the Ives. They own the largest grocery shop in that community. And I actually stayed there with my brother while I was going to school in Frankfield, which is a community across from, you have Pennants, then you have Crooked River, you have Trout Hall, and then you have Frankfield. So I used to go to school at the Frankfield Comprehensive. So I traveled from Pennants daily to Frankfield. So I'm very acquainted with the area, and it will be my joy to revisit and to assist in this project.
Well, thank you so much. I hope you saw some familiar places, but the school is very different with that wall, I tell you. It's the Great Wall of Pennants. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lola. That's lovely. Yes. Philippa?
I'm a co-volunteer with Caroline at Penryn Castle. So it was lovely to see some familiar places, because you do get attached, in spite of the history, you do get attached to that place, and we haven't seen them for a year. But I grew up in Bethesda. My father, my grandfather, my stepfather all worked in the quarry. And that quarry was life really to the village. It was all about the daily shift working and various events that happened. I left there when I was 10, so not quite aware of all the connections. And when I returned to North Wales 8 years ago and began getting into the community and volunteering at Penryn Castle, my cousins were certainly not happy. You just don't mention it. You just don't mention that you go to Penryn Castle, so that legacy carries on. You know, I go to Penryn Castle, I'm part of Bethesda, and I have a little link to the West Indies. So I feel we all have to carry on and be who we are in the world and help where we can. But it was just interesting to see my little heritage coming up via Zoom. It's just amazing what we're doing with technology. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Philippa. And remember, it's coming from Australia. Makes it even more remarkable. Why are you? It's just incredible. Righty-ho then. I think at this point, Simon, I think we'll stop the recording. Thank you very much, everyone.